Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Pradeep from Armwrestling News. It's been a long time. A solo live stream in a very long time. Because interesting video. True Power YouTube channel, first of all, hats off to whoever is managing that channel. It is one of the most, not one of the, I would say probably the most professionally managed channel right now. That is just amazing stuff. Dennis isn't quite as strong yet. Yeah, it is possible, but there are some people who are saying that Denis is number 2. I was personally one of the people who are saying that Denis is top 5 in the world right now, and he may still very well be. In a super match format, in tournament, it can get difficult for Denis, but in super match format, I think he can be top 5 in the world. Well, we don't know how to compare that. Denis isn't strong yet compared to Zaur, but where is Zaur? That is the question. That is the question that we will try to answer today. Todd and Oleg's love child is in the house. Was a cool video to watch. Yeah. Clerks93 is back in the chat. Welcome, brother. So, True Power YouTube channel, they uploaded this video. First of all, I thought it was Denis Cyplenkov's channel, but then I saw the ban. It was 4-5 months ago, but then I saw the banner on the channel and it suggests different athletes. So it is managed by someone else. We do not know for sure who that guy really is. If anyone from Russia here knows who is managing the True Power channel, then please let me know. And by the way, Zaur Paizulaev interview is on. The timing will be, I think, 10 p.m. Russian time, whatever the time zone for Zaur is, 10 p.m. on Sunday. So the interview is scheduled with Zaur Paizulaev. John's pronation will be problematic for Denis. That's why I made that video. I just read those comments in like 5 minutes, a quick recap, and everyone was calling me dumb, like, how can you compare Zaur with Denis? Zaur with John. My bad. And the point is that the pronation thing, John's pronation is also really good, the stylistic thing. The problem that Zaur was causing to Denis, John can cause the same problem. John may not be strong enough to take him to the pad just like Zaur, but he's strong enough to take that hand. And that's where the King's move will come into play. That's what I try to say in that video. Lagia agreed. I wish Hermes versus Zaur was next. Wow. Russians are banned from East versus West. If they were not, Engin Terzi would for sure be inviting Zaur Paizulaev at East versus West. And he himself clarified in a video that Zaur called him up after winning the Chechnya event that he wants in. He wants in at East versus West. And he would for sure get a match if the Russians are not banned. And interestingly, last week, Engin also said that he has a big news for the Armwrestling community which he cannot reveal yet. What is the big news? For me, the biggest news would be Russians being allowed to compete at East versus West. Is it just East versus West or is it everywhere? I'm not sure. But if Russians can compete at East versus West and also at King of the Table, I think that's about it. No other major organization is left. So Hermes versus Zaur, that can be interesting, man. Interesting stuff. I think it can look very similar to Dave Chaffee versus Hermes Gasparini, where Hermes will be taken near to the pad. Can he put the brakes on Zaur as he did against Dave Chaffee? That's difficult. And how good is Dave Chaffee? Everyone says Hermes Gasparini is explosive, he's young, he's fast. But almost every time, Dave took him to the defensive side. So how good is Dave Chaffee? He takes everyone to the defensive side except for, of course, Levan and Alex Krodecha. Alex Krodecha stopped him right in the center in round 1. Okay, we're getting off topic. So Denis looked so comfortable with Alex, who is top 10, maybe top 5 for some, yet looked way out with Zaur, who is still not relaxed from a tournament. MC, interesting point. I think this practice pull, winning Chechnya event, beating everyone, I think this shows that Zaur is for sure easily top 5 in the world. A possible ranking could be number 3 or number 2. Other than Hermes Gasparini, it looks difficult, like who can beat him. Hermes seems to be in trouble. To me, I would say Dave Chaffee may have a slightly better chance of beating Zaur just because of the hand size and the side pressure compared to Hermes Gasparini. I predicted Hermes to beat Dave, but in this match, if I were to guess who has a better chance against Zaur, Hermes or Dave Chaffee, I would say Dave Chaffee. And someone suggested in the comment section that King of the Table needs to make it happen. Of course, Engin Terzi cannot invite him because Russians are banned and Engin is out of matches. He has already scheduled 16 matches. But I think if suddenly they allow Russians to compete, Engin wouldn't mind the 17th match either. So he cannot compete at East versus West, as someone suggested at King of the Table. That guy mentioned undercard, but Zaur is no undercard. I think he meant to say co-main event. So yeah, co-main event, Hermes Gasparini is competing against Levan. Dave Chaffee versus Zaur. That's the match that needs to happen right now. Is Dave Chaffee competing at East versus West? I forgot. How can I forget that? Is Dave Chaffee competing on 21st? I don't think so. Then I think he can easily compete at King of the Table. Yeah, got a good match. Dave Chaffee versus Zaur Paizulaev, King of the Table. But then maybe it can ruin the match against Levan. He wants the Levan match as soon as possible. Zaur has mentioned it a couple of times now that he wants the Levan match as soon as possible. Yeah, I think Alex was not training at all. That time he looked out of shape. I didn't take anything away from me. Okay. Or for Denis, okay. I think he's in incredible shape but not full shape. He was just further impressed with Zaur. Denis said that he has to be 20-30% more stronger, so he's not in his best. Yes, Kushwant. But he was overwhelmed with Zaur's pronation. I think that's why he said that he needs to be 20% stronger, which he believes he can get, just to be able to match Zaur's pronation to stop him. That's a big statement because Zaur is really strong now. I think all their fans are drinking. I'd argue not top 50. Who is not top 50, man? I'm not counting out Hermes because he said he didn't train his hand much for East versus West 5. He's not maxed out yet. But why wouldn't he train his hand for that? Maybe because he didn't need much hand against Jerry. He was going to take his wrist anyways. Is that what you're trying to say? I am Hermes fan, but I think Zaur can beat him. Sorry, but Hermes needs to improve his side pressure a lot. Zaur can defeat Levan in single round match only. Possible. I would still favor Levan, but I from what I have seen lately, I think Zaur can be the only person to take Levan here. Then Levan may pronate out and beat him. But he's the closest. I think we can say that. Do you think Zaur's endurance is a problem in a super match format? That is a big problem. Yes, the flight was long and he couldn't sleep. He was straight from the tournament to Denis Cyplenkov's gym. He mentioned that. He mentioned all of that. He looked completely exhausted. But still, it shows that it can be his weakness. Of course, he's a 170 kg guy, not in terrific shape. He's kind of out of shape, but good for a explosive super heavyweight arm wrestler. But in a super match format, especially 6 rounds, it can be troublesome. Like someone mentioned that he thinks that Zaur cannot even beat Artem Morozov in a 6-round super match. Because we have seen that guys who are extremely dominant in the first couple of rounds, even they can lose. David Dadikian versus Artem Morozov. Big example. David was just cupping him, beating him, top rolling him. It looked like they are on a different level. But then Morozov came back and beat him. That can be a big problem for Zaur as well. Considering his endurance in that video, of course, I am considering those factors, that he couldn't sleep, he was not fresh from a tournament, and his wrist was kind of damaged. He said it is only 85-90% of what it was before the tournament, and even during the tournament it was injured. It wasn't 100%. So his wrist was taxed. Still, I think endurance can be a factor for him, and it would be impossible for him with this endurance to beat Levan Saginashvili at King of the Table in a 6-round format. I think it is impossible. Denis has more endurance than Zaur, was able to pin Zaur after a few pulls. Clerks 93, interesting point. And I just read a comment and I watched the video. Yes, there is a cut. Someone mentioned that there was a cut after 3 times Zaur pinned Denis Cyplenkov. They intentionally cut it there, and he mentioned that Zaur pinned Denis, or could have pinned Denis, multiple times after that as well. And they showed only 3 pulls, and after that, in the 4th pull, Denis stopped him. So was that really a 4th pull, or maybe Zaur pinned Denis 5, 6, 7, 8 times? We do not know, because it was shown only 3 times, and I think yes, there was a cut between the 3rd and 4th pull. So it is possible, because after that, Zaur was gassed and he started pulling left-handed. He took some break and he was back on the table right-handed, and then he pinned Denis again 3 times. So he was kind of recovered. But he won't get that much rest in a tournament format. Just a good question. Let me create a poll, and that would be interesting to see what the chat thinks. Who wins today? And by today, I mean if you give them a week to prepare, not more than that. Denis or Zaur? 6-round super match. I'm asking about a 6-round super match. Let's see what the chat thinks. 6-round super match, who wins, Denis or Zaur? And do you think it is a possibility that the video was cut and there could have been more pins from Zaur on Denis Cyplenkov? Zaur can defeat, okay. Just watch the video of Denis versus Zaur, and I didn't expect he was that good of a puller. Denis Van Bentham is saying, I hope now he will face Levan soon. Zaur is for sure number 2 in the world, probably number 1. I would go more towards number 2. I would say there is a 70% chance that Zaur can be number 2 in the world, and maybe 30% chance that he's number 3 in the world. I wouldn't say number 1. Levan looks stronger. Denis has more endurance. Clerks93 was saying, Denis is one of the best endurance guys when it comes to super heavyweight. He never gasses out. Denis Cyplenkov never gasses out. He gassed out against John Brzenk in that 2009 super match, I think it was. After that, I have not seen him gas out in a super match format or even in a tournament. His endurance is good. Zaur will lose in 6-round match. Yes, I think so. Against Levan for sure. Devon is definitely in the 50-100 range. Denis has more endurance, okay. Maybe once Levan steamrolls past Hermes, he'll definitely pull Zaur. That's the big question, Akash Shetty. You guys mentioned who should Hermes Gasparini or Zaur? Maybe Zaur. Like if Levan just destroys Hermes Gasparini, not even close, which there is a big possibility of that happening, then should Zaur go against Hermes if that match is being offered to him, or should he wait for the match against Levan? Because it will be difficult for Zaur as well to get matches. Like we just named a few. Hermes Gasparini is a possibility. It can happen at King of the Table or maybe at East versus West as well if the Russian ban is lifted. But Dave Chaffee is another option. I think Dave Chaffee versus Zaur should happen at King of the Table. That would be amazing. And King of the Table are also having many matches this time. One match is Levan versus Hermes, John and Svetan Gashevsky is going to compete. Sabin Bedulescu is going to compete. So 4 matches. Larry Wheels is also going to compete. 5 matches. And I think one more match. Am I forgetting something? So they already have at least 5 matches. At least 5 matches. Zaur seems unbeatable in a tournament form, but in a super match he will gas out. And he seems to be a genuinely nice guy. I like the way, because did anyone else get this vibe from watching that video? That Zaur was kind of disappointed in himself. To me it looked like I would act in that way if somebody paid for my flights, everything, my expenses, and after a couple of pulls I got gassed out and I'm not able to give them a good training. This is what it looked like to me. I'm just glad there is new contenders like Zaur to take on Levan. So what do you do if you are Levan? Should you take a match every 4 months, or should you take a match every 1 year, 15 months, just like Levan is doing? That's difficult to think, because in a pay-per-view world, yes, it is easy to blame Levan for not competing enough, which he should. I'm not saying he shouldn't, but pay-per-view format, it is difficult. You need to hype up the match. You need to show some possibility that it can happen. Like if Hermes didn't beat Dave, Dave won against Hermes. How do you sell a Dave Chaffee versus Levan rematch? Can you really sell it? Will it really sell that many pay-per-views? It's difficult, man. It's difficult. I watch Russian. I've been seeing their champions lose. Hence Vitaly, who was just beat by Dave. Who was Vitaly by all three listed 50? I don't know what you're saying, brother. Watch the latest ones. Many super heavyweights don't get the chance to compete. SG Records in the house. Hello, brother. Either you just woke up or have lack of sleep. Yeah, I slept for like 2.5 hours. I just came from my night shift. And how do you know that? By looking at the eyes or energy? Anyways, have a great day or night. It is 8:30 a.m. right now. 8:33. After Levan beats Hermes, Zaur will pull Levan at October or September. Yes, this is what they mentioned. Denis and Babkan, they were interested in making that match happen. Or is it just a strategy? Is Denis intentionally trying to make Zaur look good in front of everyone to push that Zaur versus Levan match? I would say there is a small 1 or 2% possibility for that Denis didn't intentionally give it everything he had. But it can hurt his own match against, or maybe not hurt, it can hype his own match against John Brzenk. As I made that video, that John Brzenk should be a little bit less concerned after watching this practice poll between Zaur and Denis. And people are calling me stupid that how can you compare John with Zaur? Zaur is much stronger. But it is about the style, the pronation. I think what Zaur did, John can do that as well, but he's just not strong enough to pin Denis Cyplenkov. I think Denis may need a king's move to beat John Brzenk. Okay, Levan looks more complete and surprisingly has a lot better endurance despite all the muscle mass. Yes, Levan is also great in terms of endurance, or he has not been tested yet. We'll see if he's tested in a long match. Did Zaur elaborate why he wants to face Levan ASAP? I didn't understand the hurry. Why not pull another non-Russian elite then? I don't know, Lagya. It would be funny to see because matches can fall apart. Like big matches, genuinely they need to happen as soon as possible. These matches can fall apart. It would be funny to see if some large no-name person paid one to arm wrestlers to practice pull and embarrass, then how high level of match would be offered. Zaur is fat, Levan is muscular fat. Zaur will butcher Denis, no name. Yeah, 66% people are saying that Zaur Paizulaev will beat Denis if the super match happens now. Denis, Devon, Brzenk are past a decade past their primes. I'm not sure if Devon is a decade past his prime. Not sure. Denis and John, yeah. And John is also not very far off his prime. He's also looking strong even now. Realistically speaking, Zaur must be the only guy at the moment who can give some fight to Levan. He needs to work on his endurance and will be a great show. 4 arms is saying. Number 1 is in Russia at the moment. Yes, that is clear. And number 1 in Russia, it means a lot. So Vitaly is tall and he's a good top roller. So it is not easy to go over the top of Zaur's hand. That we can say. Levan goes more back, then he goes sideways. It can be a style to beat Zaur, I think. I think that should be it. Zaur said, where was the comment? Zaur did say that he'll come back to practice pull with Denis again. How far does he live? Like, is it really affordable for him to catch a flight every month and train with Denis Cyplenkov? Maybe. Because the practice poll, it has like 210,000 views already. That's amazing. True Power is the real true power of YouTube arm wrestling. It is a really powerful channel. Dave versus Hermes did not at all convince me. Hermes is ready. Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. Dave won his strength, and if we watch Dave versus Levan, Dave took Levan to here as well. Like, Dave is always the first to act. For some reason, Dave is extremely quick with his side pressure. He takes everyone slightly off center. He took Hermes near to the pad. He took Levan here, and then Levan just murdered his hand. Dave won in side pressure strength. Hermes won in back pressure and whole hand strength. Yes, That match was still close. Despite being a 3-0, they were not that far off. And Dave did get like 3 weeks notice maybe, or 4 weeks notice Dave Chaffee got. That's not enough, especially after such a long match against Vitali. Performance enhancing pancakes. Hey Pradeep, what's up buddy? Doing great brother. Just saw your video about Devil Lair's secret plan revealed. Interesting. Shutout steak is a good way to sell a mismatch. Yeah. But no, it is not a good way. How many people are really interested in watching? If a million people are watching a match, how many of them are really going to the betting website? And how many of them are really betting? Maybe 500? I don't think 1,000 people are betting on a match. Let's say 1,000. Definitely not more than that. So to get 1,000 people interested in a match by making it a shutout stake, is it a good way to sell a mismatch? I don't think so. Well, if it is literally today, probably Denis caused Zaur. Okay, not today. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. It was next week. We're talking about next week. 69 viewers. Let's stay like that. 81 now. Without straps, there might be an opening. Damn, 74 already. Also, bad style match for Denis. Yes. Crazy how Zaur got this strong without table practice. This is something that he mentioned, that he looked sad while mentioning that as well. He does not have training partners. He said that unfortunately, Denis, unlike you, I do not have training partners, and he still got that strong. Kind of reminds me of Richard Lepkis. Richard was someone like who didn't really have table practice, maybe during the tournaments only, but Zaur, he should have someone to train with, but not as strong as Denis, or as strong as he would need someone to be to give him a good practice. What do you think about the female arm wrestler Candice? I don't know who she is. Anshuman Raj is laughing for some reason. I don't know what happened. Zaur is going to run out of pancakes. That's why he wants the match now. Denis is quite far off his prime. You can mention questions for Zaur Paizulaev as well. As I mentioned earlier in this video that I will be interviewing him on Sunday, 10 p.m. his time. I think it is 10:30 my time. Sunday. Yes, Denis is doing that style, a leaning back open top roll type. Yes, with that massive hand and crazy strength potential, a return from Denis in 6th round could be dangerous for all. Yes, I agree. And that is why I think John Brzenk is in trouble in that match, because of that style. That is the perfect style to beat John Brzenk. You do not try to do this to John right in the center. You do not try to hook John right in the center. You try to pronate and wait. Just wait where John is able to take you and then hit that pronation. I would bet 1k on Denis versus Zaur after what I saw. Yeah, interesting. Denis can stop that guy when Denis is in competition shape. But Zaur also mentioned, brother, that his wrist is injured and he is feeling weak after the tournament, even though he won it comfortably. But there were good 8-9 pulls, I think, in that match. Or maybe 10 ready goes if we count the fouls as well. Denis always overrated. He barely cut top 10 even in his peak, right? That is a funny joke, brother. No name. That is a funny joke. Denis was number 1, both arms, for a long time. Say something in Hindi. At least for that, you should type in Hindi. Then I'll at least read it out and reply. What's up, guys? Andreas is here. Why did Denis mention East versus West if Zaur cannot pull there yet due to Russian ban? Because Engin Terzi constantly keeps on mentioning that he is trying to convince them to lift that ban. He's saying that he has already mentioned it quite a few times to the WAF guys that he needs that ban to be lifted. That is hurting the sport. Everyone needs to compete. Maybe because of that. I think at first it should be Zaur versus Hermes Gasparini. Interesting. I think first the ideal situation would be Zaur versus Dave Chaffee, king of the table. Of course, Zaur can I think he has done enough, at least in the social media world, that he can get a match straight at Levan against Levan. But since he cannot get that, Hermes is getting that match, and Levan does not compete very often. John Babkin and Denis Cyplenkov mentioned that they are trying to get a match at King of the Table or East versus West in September or October. So I don't think Zaur should wait till then. Before that, he can have a match against Dave Chaffee at King of the Table, then Hermes Gasparini at East versus West if the ban is lifted, and then the match against Levan at King of the Table. AMC seems to happen every 3 months. Yes, big prize money. I don't know how they are pulling that off, but big prize money. Paying to the fourth place. Zaur said that there's another AMC tournament happening early next year, so he will be competing in that. He probably wants Levan after that. Okay. Somebody was mentioning about gear, running out of gear. If you're competing in a $16,000 prize money tournament every 3 months, you cannot really stop gear for that long. Like, you have to be on it throughout the year. You cannot just let $16,000 escape because you want to be off cycle. You need to do that constantly if you want to compete every 3 months. That is interesting situation. Like, if there is a big East versus West, same thing happening every 3 months. These athletes are taking break. Todd Hutchings is taking a break, and Artem Morozov taking a break. Hermes Gasparini took some break. So yes, even if there is some prize money, athletes will take break for their health. But $16,000 is a lot. Like Hermes and Artem Morozov, these guys are not getting paid $16,000 to compete at East versus West. So if I'm not sure if they were offered $16,000, if Todd Hutchings was offered $16,000 to compete at East versus West or to win at there, would he be taking a break? I'm not sure. Candice, Pradeep, no. What is happening, man? Do you think Artem looked like Brock Lesnar? Yeah, I mentioned that almost a year ago, more than a year ago. Next big thing. Wouldn't Levan want to pull more to get paid 3 times? Even doesn't seem enough at this age. Ideally he should, but I don't think. Do you know the officially announced matches for next King of the Table? 0. I don't think they. Yeah, Bowman versus Khalid match. That is one that I was forgetting. So 6 matches maybe. I don't think they have announced even a single match till now. I don't think they have. Yeah, Denis versus only one match. Denis versus John Brzenk. They showed the contract signing and everything. But other than that, I think they have not announced any match. He looks like Ivan Drago. No, more like Brock Lesnar, I would say. SG Records, Hindi में कुछ बोलो. Good. Acha translation, Google Translate. Yeah, I also like Zaur versus Chaffee match because he has to wait for Hermes anyways. Yeah, Hermes and also that Levan match. He has to wait for both of them. So why not get them both before getting the Levan match? I do not have time to read that further. If someone got me, then someone got me. I don't have to do research about what Candice is. Hermes should participate in AMC free cash. Yeah, that's interesting as well. Hermes Gasparini AMC tournament. Why did none of us think about it? Like Andreas, I think you're the first person that has mentioned that. Maybe someone did in the comments. I was not able to read the comments, but interesting take. Yeah, I think it should happen. Pradeep, I'll text you the Candice joke. Yeah, you shared it with me. Denis is coming back in the polls. 40% for Denis. Zaur versus Chaffee will be too much power on the table. As I mentioned earlier, I think that Dave Chaffee is a difficult match for Zaur compared to Hermes Gasparini. When will they announce the matches for King of the Table? I'm not sure. King of the Table is still about 2 months away. Denis in few months time will be a different beast. Yes, His arm power is still really strong, but his hand, his cupping is lacking. That's what he needs to work on. But he said he's working on his endurance. Maybe he knows that he can beat John based off endurance as well. Only endurance. Like, not that much cupping and strength is needed to beat John. Which can be true. If he hits that King's move, we have seen John getting gassed out really quickly when someone hits the King's move. Like I said, I want to see more international pullers at AMC. The potential is crazy. It can be next Zloty. Yeah, production is great quality. It is amazing. Zaur versus Levan is power against power. Do you think age can affect Denis' performance? 41 years old. He's not that old. He's not that old, especially for the super match format. Denis will come back to destroy John and dethrone Levan. Mark my words. I would love to see that happen. I'm a big Denis Cyplenkov fan. You should rename your channel to Biased Arm Wrestling News. Thank you for the suggestion, Martin. You're the man. SG Records with a €2 super chat. Thanks, brother. I'll join stream if Denis reaches 50% in the poll. I can send you a link right now if you want, but I wanted to keep it to 30 minutes. I apologize about to end it. Damn, the poll is over. वास्तव में आपका पसंदीदा आर्म फाइटर कौन है? MC सिंह. मेरा पसंदीदा आर्म फाइटर अभी तो बोला मैंने डेनिस सिप्लेनकॉव. एरमेस गैस्परिनी भी हो सकता है. सो एरमेस गैस्परिनी, डेनिस सिप्लेनकॉव. I like these guys. MC, good guy. SG Records. So, few highlights. Zaur and Denis Cyplenkov practiced. Zaur competed in the AMC tournament. He won it comfortably, both the overalls and the super heavy category. He won $16,000. He said that his wrist was injured before the event and it got even more taxed. He said that his wrist was only about 85% of its best and he was exhausted. He didn't get any sleep on the flight. He could barely fit in the flight seat. Then he tried to spar with Denis Cyplenkov. He pinned him. He pinned him many times with ease. There was a hustle strap. I didn't pay attention to the strap because I was watching it at 2x speed, skipping forward. But many people mentioned that there was a hustle strap. But on the other side, Zaur had a really good grip. Like, he was really deep and really high. He was almost holding on to Denis Cyplenkov's thumb. So Zaur had a great grip for a top roll. That was kind of negated by the hustle strap. So I think it was a fair setup overall. And he pinned him many times. But then after that, Denis Cyplenkov hit the brakes on him. One more thing that needs to be mentioned here, that Denis Cyplenkov was kind of allowing Zaur to hit. And you cannot really do that against a 170 kilos guy. Denis was trying to hold him. He was trying to let him hit first. Not saying that in a super match or tournament format, Zaur is not going to hit anyways. I think Zaur is going to be faster than Denis. But still, allowing such a massive, strong pronation guy to hit on you, then trying to hold him, is a bad day. If it was a fresh match, it could have been a little bit more interesting. But what we saw in that video, it looks like for now, Zaur can beat Denis Cyplenkov easily. At least in a 5-round super match. Maybe in a 6-round super match, Denis can do something. But I wouldn't bet on it. इंडिया में आपका फेवरेट कौन है? अभी तो राहुल काफ़ी अच्छा खेल रहा है. राहुल पानेकर 70 में. एंड और कौन है? प्रांजीत साइकिया की आर्म रेसलिंग मुझे काफ़ी अच्छी लगती थी, लेकिन अभी रिसेंटली हारा था वो एक मैच में. दीज टू. Do you think 20 kg weight difference is a big factor for John versus Denis match? I don't think so. John is not worried about Denis Cyplenkov's weight. John beat Denis when he was like 140 plus kilos. So, yeah, but still, Denis is a bigger guy. Yeah, I think maybe Denis tested trying to hook Zaur a couple of times with that low grip. Yes, but another reason, Denis always grips low against everyone, even in a super match format. Denis always starts in a disadvantageous position. The only place where Denis should try to start in an advantageous position, he starts with a disadvantage in a super match. And in practice pulls, he's getting everything against everyone and then pinning them. But this was not the case with this Zaur practice pull. That's interesting as well. So after 3 pins, I think they cut the video off. Maybe Zaur could have pinned him more times. Then Denis put the brakes on him and Zaur was immediately gassed after a couple of seconds, which kind of shows that despite the bad circumstances that were present this time, Zaur can have a problem with his endurance, especially in a 6 round super match. And if you were John Brzenk, you would be thinking that this kind of gives you more hope against Denis Cyplenkov, because Zaur was able to open Denis Cyplenkov's hand. John must think that he should also be able to do the same. Whether he can do something from that position or not, that is a different thing. Zaur is much more stronger. Zaur is much more explosive compared to John Brzenk. But the setup, the positioning, I think what Zaur achieved, John can also do the same. SG Records, Pradeep, would you agree that Denis's King's move is the best King's move out there? No. I think for now, Devon's King's move looks even more stronger. For someone who does not have a press to stand up and then press, if you're trying to do this, go sideways against Devon, it doesn't really work. That way, I think Devon for now has the strongest King's move in the world. For sure, stronger than Michael Todd. Denis Cyplenkov's King's move, yes, it involved a lot of arm strength, not so much pronation. Denis Cyplenkov's King's move was still a lot about bicep and arm strength. Devon's weakness is only one thing. You need to stand up and then get behind his shoulder and then press Devon to the pad, which Hermes Gasparini seems to be very fluent in doing. But if you cannot do that, then I think against those guys who can't do that, Devon has the strongest King's move. Bowen's King's move is obviously the best roam. Yeah, Ryan Bowen's King's move is also getting better. We saw that in a practice against Lachlan, in a match against the Georgian, I forgot. Not Rivas. The beard guy, how can I forget his name? Zaur back pressure greater than Hermes. I'm not sure about that. Side pressure, I would say side pressure. His side pressure is clearly stronger than Hermes Gasparini. Michael's open arm top roll versus Dave in 2019, maybe. Yeah, that Michael looked strong. Zaur wouldn't move Bowen. Okay. One time Denis high gripped Chafee in a super match and it worked really well. Of course it is going to. Fake Zaur in the chat. Zaur Paizulaev. I will destroy Hermes. Amazing. PEP, yeah man, how could I forget that? Pradeep, when will you get invited at King of the Table or East versus West? Engin invites me every time for every East versus West, and he's willing to pay everything for me, but still, for some stupid reasons, I cannot get visa for now. Zaur can beat, if there is any way to go around that visa thing. If some of you have traveled internationally and know how to deal with that, please contact me on Instagram or Facebook and let me know how I can deal with that situation. Pradeep, how could you not know Giga Chat Zurab Tabaridze? Yeah, Zurab Tabaridze. Zaur and Denis are the two who could challenge in the future. Levan, okay. Hermes said he will break the back pressure record soon. I'm waiting for his attempt. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I think this was a good show. Interesting live. Almost 90 viewers, peak viewers. Thanks very much, brother. Love you all. Subscribe, please subscribe. I had a target of 20,000 subscribers. Not able to achieve that. Arm wrestlers don't really like to subscribe. On my Hindi channel, people subscribe immediately, but they do not like to watch. On this channel, everyone wants to watch. Everyone likes to watch what I upload, but for some reason, they do not subscribe. Please subscribe. Pradeep, you can travel by emu like Ryan does. Thanks.